Hey, what's up, Superdads? Today I have, I guess, like a quick message or a reframe, perhaps, that I think might be useful to some of you out there. And specifically, I'm talking to the population out there who feels like they might have run up against their genetic limitations. Now, first of all, we need to clarify and say that it's almost impossible that you've run up against your genetic limitations because in order to do that, you would have had to optimize every single element of your life for the, with the goal of muscle building in mind. And unless you're a crazy person with, billions of dollars and nothing but free time, it's unlikely that you did that. You're going to have life stress. You're going to have relationships that are sometimes more important. You're going to be not eating the perfect food all of the time. Okay, you get the idea. So really what you've run up against is what you might call your functional limitation, as in, like, in order for the rest of your life to keep functioning as it is, you can't really, push it any further. So, yeah, there are still probably gains out there that you could get, but maybe you're finding it tougher and tougher to make the sacrifice, or maybe just like it requires so much extra sacrifice in order to keep making gains that you are, finding it not worth the juice is not worth the squeeze, as they say. And I know that this can be a really frustrating time for a lot of people. They look at it and they say, like, what do I have to do to keep making gains? Screw these genetic limitations. I wish I had better genetics for yada yada yada. I have to work so hard to get it to make any progress. So if you're in the situation where you've run up against your functional limitations, as it were, this is basically the message that I have for you, or the thought that I'd like to suggest. And that is, you're probably focused on how much more you have to do now to get any sort of progress out of it. And what I would recommend you shift your thinking to focus on is how much less you need to do now. So if you've run up against your functional hypertrophy limitations or strength limitations, well, really, you won. You won the game. You have reached the end game. You have, leveled up and unlocked a new skill called maintenance lifting. Maintenance lifting. It's a magical thing. And it means that, you have put in the hard work to get to the point where you don't have to put in as much hard work to keep what you've earned. You can do a third the volume. If you are really, close to your genetic limitations, then one really hard set, training that muscle a week is probably enough to maintain the gains that you've gotten. Is it going to really make you continue growing? Probably not, but really, is anything going to make you grow? Yeah, you might get a little bit more, but you're going to have to put a lot more work in to get that tiny little bit of progress, and it just might not be worth it. Now, you're not going to hear this message from the 20 something fitness YouTuber guys, but their life is fitness and muscle building. And, if you're an adult, a responsible adult who wants to make a contribution in this world and develop to your greatest possible potential as an individual, not just in the narrow, the narrow fitness, the narrow muscle building. I mean, how important is that really? Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't do it. Absolutely. Get strong enough to be useful. Get aesthetic enough to have self-confidence when you walk into a room, though, you might not even need to be aesthetic for that. And be healthy enough that you're going to be around for the people that you care about, right? And, I've certainly trained to build muscle, to look good, to be strong. I've done it for a long time. But I also now recognize that, to get more progress requires ever increasing sacrifices, ever increasing commitment of resources and time to get ever decreasing returns on that investment. So why not enjoy the end game content where you get to use your free time? If you're lifting one hard, workout a week, something like that, or you would just reduce your volume down to maintenance levels and go out and use the time to learn a new skill, to reconnect with people, to deepen a connection that you have with someone, to explore, have new experiences. I mean, life is very rich. And, you know, I think unfortunately for a lot of people, as they get older, it's a struggle. They are not as curious as they once were, and they're not as open to being changed as they might have once been. And the gym is familiar territory, and so despite the fact that it's not actually producing any gains for them to be in there doing as much as they're doing, it can be difficult to know what to do with the extra time. If I said to that person, to some of these people at least, do less, do, half as much as you're doing now, they would look at me like I'm crazy, not because they think I'm wrong from a physiological effect standpoint, but because they're scared by the idea of not being in the gym as much, uh, of breaking the habits that now form so much of their identity, and of what they would do with that time. A lot of people don't like to be alone with themselves, and for a lot of people, exercise can be a way to distract them. Okay, so I don't know if that helped anybody. I hope it did. And regardless, thanks for watching. I appreciate the attention. Go be super.